August 23rd, 2025. This is HOA Today. HOA Today is brought to you by Zayuk Smart Property System. Zayuk is a property management technology company. That is a lot of words for we provide infrastructure for property to understand the context of the work they're doing, the work they need to do. This comes from a management perspective, a construction perspective, and it helps properties manage their issues. And in 2025, one of the biggest reasons and needs properties in the US have for it is insurance as well as aging. So those two combine as the buildings age, as infrastructure is not updated, as there's negligence over decades or years, it adds up, the cost adds up. And as we've seen in California with wildfires or in Florida with tornadoes, insurance is increasing significantly. And in Florida, we actually saw some legislation being passed last month specifically relating to buildings of 3 stories or more. And in that case, SIUC is a great tool. We provide an inspection service as well as an infrastructure for that data for your property for a decentralized ownership model, which an HOA homeowner association is. So today we will go through some various current events in HOA. One big thing that is becoming a recurring theme, and we've spoken about this, is data centers. Data centers are being built throughout the country. A lot of this is occurring in, I believe we spoke about Pennsylvania last week. This is in Oklahoma. So various parts of the country. Parkview Estate homeowners in Stillwater say they are fed up with the new Google data center being built across the street. This is from Oklahoma News 4, and the article is by Abigail Franklin. Killing the pond in the community, and the HOA has filed a lawsuit. They're arguing it's been barren. Spring rain came and it flooded all down the water areas, and the pond took the brunt of it. And the building has removed essential greenery that prevented runoff from reaching the neighborhood pond for nearly 50 years. And the argument is that the data center has destroyed the ecology of the pond. No more fish, no feeding geese. Most of the fish are supposedly died from suffocation, allegedly. HOA pays dues to maintain the amenity. It's a huge loss for them. The Department of Environmental Quality did issue a fine, but the HOA is filing a lawsuit in hopes of restoring the pond. That's becoming a recurring theme across the country. We'll probably hear about that more as we go through these items. We can go through, I know that there was another one here. This is by Fox 25, We've Got Your Back by Grant Palmer. Stillwater HOA sues Google over data center. Suing Google over the proposed data center. Blaming muddied waters and declining wildlife on this. Pond has been noticeably different since development of the building or the property. Interesting, very interesting. And we'll move on. Okay, and yeah, it's big news for HOA, and it's because these data centers are a huge part of the AI economy, and to see where they're getting placed in relation to residential areas is we can see the impact it's having. Okay, in the Wichita Eagle, HOA rejects recall of embattled board but doesn't solve its problem. Fairmont Homeowners Association survived a neighborhood recall vote despite recent revelations of backroom deals, self-dealing, and apparent multiple violations of state law and association bylaws. Nobody likes their neighborhood to be spotlighted. Easier to blame the messenger than examine evidence. That's true. This is by the Wichita Eagle, written by Dion Leffler. Last election for the board was March 2024, 5 months late, and the board is currently into the 17th month of a 12-month term. Often you get in these articles the perspective of the homeowner. Several allegations. There were errors, executed contracts without holding meetings, board members paid for work around the property, which is prohibited by bylaws, and board members waived their own dues. And we spoke about this. This was homeowner Shala Perez, teaches criminal investigation and law at Butler Community College. Homeowners got angry with not with the board, but with the whistleblower. And this is because the legal fees, I believe, I'm not sure. I don't want to mix up these issues because I'm not sure that this is the same article. But we did speak about Shala Perez before. Very large fines between the board and individual homeowners. And this is something in California that was just completely thrown in a loop. Let me just verify. I believe it was AB 100, Assembly Bill 100. 130. Assembly Bill 130, AB 130. I love, and Gemini told me that is a flaw. What a fantastic understanding of what I was speaking about. But capping homeowner association fees at $100. So these fines are allegedly at 2,900 and 30 some hundred, 3,800 or something like that. And that would not be permitted in California, which is a very contentious argument between people in the industry and normal homeowners who probably and possibly never been involved on the board and might not understand why that's not in everyone's interest. Let's continue. So lots of issues with Stillwater and the Google data center, Stillwater, Oklahoma, I believe. Yes, Stillwater, Oklahoma. Okay. Here's one by Destiny Goad in TC Palm, a Q&A HOA. Can the board vote to remove a disruptive member? And this is Florida. Under section 720-30310, a board member may only be removed by membership not by vote of the remaining directors unless the director was initially appointed to fill a vacancy. Two methods by which a board member may be recalled with or without cause. One, by written agreement or written ballot of a majority of the total voting interest without a meeting. Two, by a vote of a majority of the total voting interests at a duly noticed special meeting if permitted by governing documents. Recall documents. So without a meeting, streamlined, written agreement with majority of total voting. Recall documents must be served by the association by certified mail. Board is required to convene a meeting within 5 full business days. This is in Florida. Can call a special meeting. 10% of the voting interest may initiate the meeting by providing notice to membership. Quote, in addition to member-initiated recall procedures, Florida law provides for automatic removal under certain circumstances. A board member who is more than 90 days delinquent in the payment of any fine, fee, or monetary obligation to the association is deemed removed by operation of law, unquote. By Destiny Goad. Okay. Moving on. This is in CW 39 Houston. Spring homeowner says HOA cameras invade his privacy. In Old Oaks neighborhood, the camera can capture activity outside and even parts of his home. 3 other cameras were also found in the neighborhood, though not aimed directly at homes. An attorney for the local municipal utility district said the cameras were installed by the HOA with partial funding from the MUD to boost security. License plate readers and footage is only accessed with law enforcement requests. So this is in Texas, and we can do a search. What are the rules for security cameras across California, Texas, Florida? Let's do Oklahoma, since we just spoke about Stillwater. In HOAs or, yeah, and let's just start with that. It's searching now. And in this moment, as it's searching, I will speak about the sponsor of this show, Zayuk. Zayuk is a smart property company. We provide software and inspections, reality capture, survey grade level inspections of your property of your roofing, of your sidewalks, asphalt, elevated exterior elements, which include balconies or staircases or hallways, walkways that are 6 feet or above the ground, landscaping, trees, getting the imagery and the data into a reference body where you can handle it, where you can bring customers in and out, because we can no longer live in a system, and we'll realize this through Web3 sorts of protocols and new types of technologies, that information must stay with the stakeholder. Whether and in Zayuk, we handle that with HOAs, and that is why Zayuk is brought to you, has brought to you HOA Today. But if you allow your data to go and come and go with your vendors, you're going to have difficulty when the landscaper has their certain procedure, does things, none of it's been verified. You don't know if they did what you want to do. Maybe a sprinkler system, they didn't fix the right sprinklers. Maybe your sprinkler system has to be handled a certain way where you figured it out over decades that a certain implementation, such as a tree or again a sprinkler system, is actually degrading the property faster than it should be. So adjusting for that, having a history of all these things, having your vendors have a place to actually do their work or upload their work is very important. And it, that's the one thing that I believe most HOAs don't respect enough, is how much they need to take control of the information solely. Solely the information on property needs to be maintained in a repository that you own. So we'll continue now. So California Federal Wiretap Act prohibits intentional interception of oral communications without consent. California law permits video surveillance in areas where individuals do not have a reasonable expectation of privacy. Davis Sterling Common Interest Development Act governs HOA operations. Okay. HOAs, this is still California, can install cameras in common areas like entrances, parking lots, and recreational facilities. Cannot place cameras in private areas or direct them towards private residences. Audio recording without consent can violate both federal and state laws. This is Texas. Texas law prohibits HOAs from regulating security measures like security cameras, motion detectors, and perimeter fencing. Texas is a one-party consent state for audio recording. Chapter 1702 of the Texas Occupations Code may apply to association security camera installations. Requirements: the HOA may need licensing under Chapter 1702 unless they qualify for specific exceptions. Property owners have the right to monitor activities on their premises for security purposes. So let me just Google Chapter 1702 of the Texas Occupations Code. Governs private security in Texas, outlining the regulations for private security officers, agencies, and investigators. It details requirements. This is from Google Gemini for licensing, including background checks, training, and the different levels of security licenses available. Scope of regulation, what constitutes private security, licensing and registration, levels of security licenses, level 2, level 3, prohibited activities. It's a fairly in-depth law, it seems like. Does not seem like a simple law. So I won't pretend to be able to interpret it, but in Texas, they do have Chapter 1702 of the Texas Occupations Code, which may apply to association security cameras. And in California, which is where I live, this is as far as I'm understanding. I'm not a lawyer, none of this is legal advice, but can't direct them towards a private residence, which it can become very difficult in condo and homeowner associations and even townhomes. Florida, all party consent in Florida for audio. Florida Statute 810-1453C permits video surveillance in public in business areas on business premises. Installation of security cameras on condo common elements is considered a material alteration requiring member approval. That makes a lot of sense, which is similar to, again, not a lawyer, none of this is legal advice, especially across state laws. But as an HOA and property technology, it's important for our company and our viewers and anyone who cares about our purpose to at least explore and see what is going on across these states, because if you're an HOA in Florida, Safe Safe is a great tool to give you the tools to actually be able to handle your property over the next several decades and give yourselves, if you're in a bad place as a condo association in Florida, the tools to get yourself out of that bad place, which is not gonna happen in the next year, likely. If it's been decades of neglect, it's gonna require decades of meticulous and intentional care as well. We'll continue. HOA requirements. Associations may need 75% voting interest approval for material alterations. Florida law section 93403 FS makes it illegal to intentionally intercept audio without prior consent. Again, I believe this, according to Claude. Florida, strict all party consent. Texas was one party consent. Oklahoma, Statute 211171, the Peeping Tom Law prohibits video recording in areas with reasonable expectation of privacy. Statute 21-1993 prohibits tampering with or disabling security cameras. Individual municipalities, communities, or subdivisions may have unique rules for their areas. No state provision. It seems in most states don't direct it towards private areas or anywhere that might have an expectation of privacy. And we will now move on. This is in CBS News by Karen Morfitt. Bankruptcy records link owners of troubled HOA management company in Colorado to new company. Saga continues 6 months after an HOA management company denied it was the same company it was replacing. They were ordered to pay $2.7 million after a judge determined the company's owner diverted more than $700,000 from another HOA into her own bank account. I believe we've spoken about this. I believe I had a live stream about this. From day one, Shadow Creek residents from Dave Wells raised concerns about the company brought in to replace their HOA management company. All too often, things like this happen where you just are stuck in a cycle like that. Despite state business records showing the same couple formed both companies, residents were assured the Bacons were no longer involved. The reporter here, Karen Morfitt, went to CCMA's office to speak with the new owners and were not able to get anything. And this article is stating that they transferred money. from I'm sorry, that they were ordered to immediately cease business operations and then transferred money to another business. And again, stable coins can't come faster. Can't they can't come faster. These properties, the homeowners, they're it's going to get to a point, and you can see the laws kind of rolling there, where at least in Florida and California, where accountability is becoming law, there is these so many mechanisms in place where that have come in within the last 10, 15 years that give decentralized asset owners the opportunity, especially ones like HOAs, where you have other things like a stock is a decentralized asset ownership model. The difference is how it's what everyone owns. And even an REIT, that's a decentralized asset ownership model. There are different shareholders in that REIT, but the owners are not residents. That's the huge difference. And the way that they own is not by their home, not by a single property. And it complicates a lot of it because you have consumers in HOAs that are really looking for a store of value and a place of living, maybe some other things, but many times when you purchase real estate, it's a store of value that you that you hope appreciates and that you're investing in something worthwhile, as well as it's somewhere you want to live. Very seldomly do you think about it in terms of a business. Some people do. They're savvy. They're savvy investors, savvy home buyers. If they understand and are able to make the considerations that I speak about, I have three. One is asset hygiene, curb appeal. Does it look good? Are- Is the sidewalk degrading? Is the landscaping decent? How is the painting? How is the asphalt? Two, financial hygiene, get the finances before you make a decision as a buyer, budgets, reserves, ask about assessments in the past, ask about any assessments planned in the next 1 to 3 years. There might not be any, but there might be an idea that one is coming. So find out, get an idea. Don't just assume the number you have the day you purchase is gonna be the number that you keep. As far as HOA fee goes, as far as assessments, special assessments go. And 3, so that's you have the asset part, which is what the business owns. You have the finance part, which is the language of business. How is this business working? Is it functioning appropriately? And then 3, the governance. The governance is so critical, and it's very often overlooked, ignored, but you sign legal obligations to hold to live or own in accordance with the governance. When I say live or own, there might be certain laws on rentals, and when you live there, you are gonna live under you must act in accordance with the rules for residents. Because even if you're an investor, you might not reside there, so the governance items aren't so important for across many things such as pet policies. You might have a dog, but if it's a home that you are renting out, it's not so important. Whereas if you're living there, it's a hugely important aspect, critical aspect to understanding, will I run into trouble here? And people are very upset. They get very upset when they purchase a home, and then you tell them, "You can't do that," or "You must do that," when they don't wanna do that, and it hits a core because this is theirs in a sense, of course. I'm not a lawyer, none of this is legal advice, but they are a partial owner. That's their home, and when they're told by their HOA they can't do something, that hits a chord, and it can degrade the relations between everyone. It can degrade the quality of life for that individual, and unfortunately, there's a legal obligation there, and it must be met. So it's something to consider. Asset hygiene, financial hygiene, and governance if you purchase into an HOA. Thank you, everyone. We are going to cut the stream for now. This was brought to you by Zayuk Smart Property System, software and inspection service, reality capture inspection. If you get your own inspection service, we can integrate the results with our software, or we can handle it ourselves. Just we use pretty high quality tech, and if you have an inspector that can do the same and understands how to create digital twins with handheld devices and drones, you can reach out to them and then speak to us about getting your data in a secure and safe place so that you can bring vendors in and out and not be at the whim of the people that, and not to say it's intentional, but documenting what goes on requires in itself intention and being persistent and being deliberate and saying, "We need to understand what happened, why it happened, and how it all plays together." There's a story to a property, and you need to begin to define and document that story in a way that is interpretable to yourself, to your vendors, to your future owners, and to your future vendors. Thank you so much, everyone.